Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mortgage Coaches Training Thursday. If you're on the East Coast, well, good afternoon. Today, what we're going to do is create a total cost analysis for a move-up buyer. So what we'll do is, this is a kind of scenario that you would want to use with your borrowers when they currently have a home. And this way, you could show them how they can move up to a home value of $330, but the whole time keeping that same monthly payment. So even though they increase the value of the home, the monthly payment's only increasing, or actually they're saving in this case $4. But not only that, what we'll be able to do on this presentation, we also then are going to build it, and then we're going to show them, instead of moving up into a different home, especially if they want to stay in that house, they like it, they've been in it a few years. So instead of moving up, why not cash out, take a cash out of $35,000 and be able to have home improvements. So with that, you can see I went ahead, added that extra product, and in this case, in comparison to that current mortgage, they would have to have $3 more to make that payment to have that $35,000. So with that, that's what we're going to build today. It's called a move-up buyer with a twist. We're going to also show them that cash out. So with that, let's go into the more info. I want to show you a couple items we're going to train on. So when we go into the more info button, we go into the closing cost details. You can see that we'll also create a custom fee that will show the proceeds from sales. So you'll be able to have a line item showing exactly where we're taking that equity and applying it to the new mortgage. Also in the cash out, we have a custom field that we went ahead and put cash for home improvements. Again, these are line items we'll be able to create that you'll be able to easily show those borrowers exactly how that money is being applied. So with that, everyone, what I want you to do is go ahead and log into your Edge account, and let's go ahead and turn on that. And if you're new to our Training Thursdays and a GoToMeeting, what we'll need to do is, why don't you look at GoToMeeting toward the bottom. There's a question area. In that question area, go ahead and open it up, and anytime throughout the call, if you have any questions, please place it in the question area, and we'll go ahead and address those questions on the call. So with that, I have gone into my Edge account. So when you first log in, you get into your home screen. So we have our client presentations. That's the total cost analysis, as well as rent versus own presentations. We also have partner-facing reports, and that's the open house presentation as well as the seller buy-down. Before we dive into creating the actual presentation, I want to show you the help button. With that help button, you'd be able to go directly to Mortgage Coaches Support Center. And we have quite a bit of video tutorials that you'd be able to use. Today, we have a search engine. So I could, if I wanted to, move up buyer, do a search, and you can see how we also have a video tutorial based on that move-up presentation. So you can also look for different kinds of strategies through our knowledge base. And the other item I want to point out are two, that we have a coaching call archive. So this call, Training Thursday, will be posted on that coaching call archive right in this December area. We also post our coaching calls from Tuesday and any special webinars we have in this area. Also, we have our monthly calendar events, and I want to point this out to you. This is where you can sign up for those coaching calls, as well as our mobile conversation. Every Wednesday, we discuss how to have that conversation on the mobile device with your borrowers. You're on the Training Thursday, but want to point out Mortgage Coach University. If you click on this link at the very base, you can see all the different items you can do within Mortgage Coach's Edge. So different kind of scenarios, different price ranges, different products. We also have train on how to create widgets, different reinvestment strategies, and whatnot. Our 101 and 102 courses are the first 3 weeks of every month. So just go ahead and register for those and attend as you can. But there's great topics that we train on, and you'd be able to easily just jump on those calls. So let's start with our new clients file. So we're going to create this report. So we're going to start with new client. And what I'm going to do here is the difference between the radio buttons. We have individual as well as marketing. The only difference between these buttons is it will remove the co-borrower's information and make it just one straight marketing title report headline. So I went ahead and changed it to marketing, and I'm just putting in move up buyer. And this can be also a marketing report that you use, an educational piece. So as you're working with a borrower and they're not quite sure of the different options they have, moving up or cashing out, you'd be able to show this as an example, and then you can copy it and just update it with their information. So I'm just putting in my training Thursday. In my friendly name field, this is a reference name, so if you ever want to do copies later and you want to reference a specific file, this is a great way to be able to do that. So it's just a reference name field, be able to place in there. You can place just purchase, refi, items like that. We're not going to do anything with our goals here. We're going to go ahead and keep this empty, and as we advance our screen, we come to our assumptions. And within our assumptions, all we want to do is put in our property value. In this case, we're going to use a property value of $300,000, and we're going to advance the screen. Anytime you advance the screens, that is what's saving the data. So as soon as I advance my screen, the data has been saved. Want to point out any field that has a red field, say if I remove that property value, take a look at the very base of the screen, you'll end up having an exclamation mark in that area. And this will let you know that a red field in red is important, and you should go back to that screen and double check and make sure you have those fields entered. So now we're going to come to the current mortgage. So with the current mortgage, last week's Training Thursday, we really dived into a refinance in the current mortgage and how to play with these numbers to get the exact payment that the borrower is providing you. In this particular training, what we're going to do is just go through and entering the basic information that we already have. So let's go ahead and put in our first payment date of 12/1/2012. They took out this loan a few years ago. And with that, at the time, the loan amount was $235,000. They have an interest rate of 5.5 and a term of 360. You can see how when you enter all this information, the system will then calculate the remaining balance based on the information that you keyed in. Just as a reminder, if the borrower might have applied additional money toward principal, they might have a lower remaining balance. You can always override it. So say they had paid it down to $200,000. You can override that remaining balance if you need to. But I'm just going to go ahead and place back that number that was automatically calculated, and we're going to use the true remaining balance. You can see with the information that we entered, we also can see the P&I payment for that basic structure of the loan. So that's a great way of being able to compare, make sure you have the correct P&I that they have told you over that phone. So next, we're going into our monthly costs. So with this, if you don't want to, you don't have to put those monthly costs because you are just comparing that payment, but I'm going to go ahead and include those monthly costs in there. I'm going to just do a rough estimate. If you know the true value of their monthly costs, you can either put it as a percentage, or you can open up that field and you can always put the dollar amount instead. So you have two ways of keying in that information depending on what the borrower provides you. So now I'm done entering my current mortgage. So now what we want to do is go work on our products. So you can keep advancing the screens, but I'm going to show you how you could jump really easily to different screens. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my mouse and click it on products. You could do the same. You could see how you could go to the assumptions, and I have 3 jump out menus to be able to choose from. So the first one was where I put my property value. The current mortgage is where I put that first payment date, rate, and loan amount. And then the monthly cost. So those are the 3 screens that belong to the assumptions. Now we're developing our products. So you can see in the upper right-hand corner, the system displays our payment from the current mortgage. So not only is that the P&I payment, it also is the monthly cost, your hazard and taxes. So let's go ahead and change our title here to Move Up to 330. So now what we want to do is you can just go ahead and put in your information here and go ahead and just fill it in, but we're going to use the copy from button for now. I'm going to copy from the current mortgage. I'm going to press OK, and you can see how now all this information from the current mortgage has carried over, including those monthly costs. So you can see how the monthly costs as well as that loan amount, term, and rate carried over. So now what we want to do is change it from the current mortgage to make it a purchase scenario. So what I'm going to do is click on the refinance button, and then I'm going to click back to no. So you can see how that then removed the current mortgage information and made it a purchase mortgage. So we could see how the base loan amount carried over, as well as that down payment, that equity. So what we want to do is increase that purchase price to $330,000. And then from that $30,000, we apply that down payment, the equity that they had in the home, and this will be our new base loan amount. So you can see what I did. I went ahead and used the copied from current. I toggled from yes to no. And then I just went ahead and increased my purchase price to reflect the $330,000 for my move up. With that, it went ahead and took the down payment, applied that equity that we had in the current mortgage, and then provided our base loan amount. So with that, we have the interest rate. Let's go ahead and reduce it from 5.5% and say they can go ahead and get a mortgage for 4.5%. So now once we've made these adjustments, as we advance the screen, you can see how the payment on the move up just as adjusted. So we've kept that $330,000 loan mortgage, and that payment is the same. So they are able to increase to that amount and still have that same monthly payment that they've been comfortable with for the last few years. So now let's go ahead and add the fees, and we'll also show you how to create that custom fee for the proceeds from sale. So if I go ahead and put in 15 days for my interest, and just to show you, if you hover your mouse over that field, you can see that dollar amount. Just to show you how points work before we go into our closing cost details, the points you can enter as a whole percentage, and you can see how you hover the mouse just like that prepaid days and see that dollar amount. I also want to point out you could go ahead and put negative points, so, or if you have a rebate. So you could do, a negative 0.35, whatever that case may be. You could go ahead and enter it as a negative as well. If any of you are using the OB interface, the rebate amount does carry over, and it can carry over as a negative. So I want to point that out. It would show up in that point field. So now let's go ahead and talk about our closing costs. So what you would need to do is just click on that closing cost details, and this is where you go ahead and build fee templates. If you're on an enterprise account, you might already have some fee templates already built for you. And it's very simple to create fee templates as well as adjust them as you go. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to go ahead and pull down a fee template that I already have created. And I'm just going to do conventional fees. And you see how I have a fee template already built. So with that, we have line items of fees with the description as well as that dollar amount. You can always indicate if the borrower, lender, or seller is paying that fee. If the fee is an APR item, you can add that amount to loan amount, or if you want, and I'll discuss it a little bit, what those PPE stands for, prepaid escrow. So with that, I went ahead and carried over my fee template. And for those of you who are on the enterprise account and have fee templates, if your fees are just slightly different than what the home office has, you can always, like, say the underwriting fee might be an increased amount for your office. So say it was $700. I would go ahead and modify that, but you don't want to do that on every particular file. So what you could do is go ahead and start developing your own fee templates. And to do that is just bring down a fee template, make any necessary adjustments, and in the lower right-hand corner you have a Save as Template button. So when you click on that, you'll be able to start saving the fee templates for you. So anytime you have a new scenario, new fee template, or a new fee structure, always save it as a template, because this way it will speed you through creating the presentations. So we do have a video tutorial on developing fee templates, and a great way of developing is just get a fee sheet from your LOS, and sometimes companies have Excel files. Just get that, identify your fee, put the dollar amount, and that's a good way of starting your estimate. In this particular case, the template I have is allowing me to put in the lender's title, owner's title. Because these are so variable, a lot of times you'll see these empty if you're on an enterprise account. So let's just go ahead and put in a couple dollars in these areas. And now let's go ahead and discuss the proceeds from sale. So what I want to do to make it easy and also have that line item, I'm going to go ahead and create a custom fee. So if you don't see your fee descriptions in the drop-down area in that list, you can always create your own description. And to do that, you just click on Add Custom Fee. You'll be able to apply your description, whatever you would like to see. If you use that percentage field, you can have it go off the loan amount or the property or sales value. We also have prepaid, default for prepaid, as well as a default for APR. So let's go ahead and put in the description of proceeds from sale. And what I'm going to do is have it marked as a prepaid. And what a prepaid means is it's an item that is not a cost to the loan. So escrowed items, your monthly costs, those are prepaid items on our system. Proceeds from sale, it's not a fee, it's not a cost to the loan, it is money coming from the equity. So we want to make sure we have that marked as a prepaid. So if I press OK, I now have my proceeds from sale. It's also in my drop down now, so if you ever have to use this again, you could go ahead and not have to create that description, but use the one you had just created today. You'll see at the very last column I have it marked prepaid PPE, so it's a prepaid escrow. It's telling me it's not a cost of loan. And now let's go ahead and apply that negative $75,000. I want to have it as a negative. You want to enter as a negative because it's money not going to the borrower, but it's coming from the borrower being applied to that down payment. So you want to enter it as a negative. And then once you're completed with your fee templates, you want to apply to loan. You'll see how the system has totaled all the APR costs, non-APR costs. You can see our negative $75,000 for our prepaid escrows. And then we also have a contribution. So let's check out that contribution real quick. The contribution is due to my owner's title that I have marked as a seller fee. So anytime you have a fee that's not marked as a borrower fee, it will be totaled and it will be part of that contribution. So now after you've finished out your fees here, I'm going to go ahead and advance now to the monthly cost screen. So in the monthly cost screen, the hazard insurance and the property tax came over as a percentage, and it also adjusted based on that loan amount or the property value. So with that now, you can also see we're still in comparison. We're $4 under, but we now have moved up to our $30,000 mark. So let's go ahead and advance. We'll come back and we're going to add that second cash out refi, but first let's take a look just solely on the move up. So you can see at the very base you can add another product, and this is where we're going to come back to. But as you advance your screen, we're now on the analysis screen. And in the analysis screen, because we are talking about net worth, about increasing their value with their home, we want to go ahead and change it from total interest and MI paid to show them their net worth. How, if they move up to a $330,000, how their net worth is also going to increase during that time period. I want to point out also these benchmarks. These benchmark fields are being able to allow you to determine which product to compare against. So right now we have it reflecting the current because on a refinance you always want to reflect and compare against that current mortgage. But just to show how it works, say I want to compare it against that move up. So now the move up no longer has a graph, and then it's telling the current mortgage the difference in that monthly payment. So I want to be able to point out that benchmark. Those are good if you have comparisons. We always go have no graph for that higher priced monthly payment. So this is the way you can control which product you want to compare against. So those are the benchmarks. And then we have our total net worth. So now what we want to do is continue. We just want to put our compliance note in. If you want a contact information, you can enter that as well. And then you want to make sure you put in a payment note. And something simple as estimated taxes and insurance are included in your payment is fine. It's a compliance piece. It's just letting that borrower know that the hazard and taxes are included. So if you're not showing them, you might want to be able to put that same phrase and say are not included in your payment. So now instead of advancing through the last screens, I'm going to take a shortcut by going to hovering my mouse over presentation and going to preview. So once you're at the very last screen, we're going to definitely email the link, and we want our email alert. So this will notify when the borrower has viewed your presentation. So let's go ahead and place in today's date as our quote date, and let's take a look at our presentation. So with that presentation, now you can see how you can compare that current mortgage to that move up of 330. And just a moment, I do have a question. Brian's asking if the is there a way to have the payment statement default the same on all loans? And what do you mean payment statement? Can you, if you can define that a little bit more, and I'll be able to help you. And then I could dive into that question a little bit more. I'm just not quite sure on that payment. So if you, in the summary section, so you'd be able to click on that more info button. You'd be able to see this P&I payment, and you can see how we did make that adjustment to increase in the property taxes because it was a percentage. Same with the taxes. So we did take into account that little bit of increase in taxes and hazard insurance, and that's why that P&I payment is a little bit lower than their current mortgage. But we want to make sure that their monthly payment, the total payment that they're paying, is roughly the same. So next, let's go into the closing costs and take a look at this. So in the closing costs, you can see under the move up product, we have our fee details. And in those fee details, this is where you can show that $75,000 of the proceeds from sale. So you'll be able to walk them through all these different items that are on the presentation to be able to show them exactly the same payment and drill through that payment amount. So now let's take a look at our net worth. So if we go into that more info, you can show how the property appreciation, that home value, how it is increasing, and it'll increase more with having that increased home value. You also see how the loan balance, because you're starting with a higher loan amount, how it's different. And then you also have your net worth showing in this area as well. So you have all that information in that lower net worth area. I think I know what you're talking about. Let me see. The payment notes, is this what you're talking about, Brian? I think this is what you can, and I believe there is a default, so in the settings, oh, good, great. We refer to this area as our payment notes. And afterwards, it's in the settings in the template area, so we can refer to that after we finish this presentation. So you can default this information. That was Brian's question. So let's go back to our presentation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and bring up the report. I'm going to use two screens, so I'm going to go ahead and bring my questions down for a little bit. We're going to go ahead and add the cash out product. So what I want to do is be able to provide that to you on a live basis. So what I'm going to do is bring my report over to the other screen. Let's go ahead and start showing both screens. There you go. And let's hide this. Okay, so now if you can just let me know if you don't, you should be able to see both screens. If you could just say yes, if someone could type it in there. And now what I'm going to do is be able to show you really how Edge Live works. So by having the presentation up on the right-hand screen, you'll be able to see how it's being viewed. So now what we want to do is on the left-hand side is I'm in Edge. So what I'm going to do is go to my products, and it came to my very last screen of my move up 30,330. I'm going to add another product. So I add another product. This title I want to go ahead and put in cash out 35K. Whoops, 35. Let's put a dollar amount on there too. 35K. Okay, so with that, we go ahead and let's copy from that current mortgage. Press OK. And this time we are going to be doing a refinance, so we want to keep it marked as yes. So with that, let's go ahead and increase that base loan amount, and let's go ahead and put in $260,000. So they still have $40,000 in equity. Let's go ahead and advance the screen so we could see our third product up on the screen, and we could see where that payment is to see if we, by increasing at 35, that we would have that dollar amount of the payment similar. So you can see it's $1,864. Let's go ahead and decrease this amount a little bit. And let's advance the screen. Have you noticed on my presentation now that on the cash out, we now have a second product? So that whole time as we were working with it, you were able to see how that Edge Live presentation would work. So let's get our payment down, and I think that's a little less cash out than we had initially thought. Oh, I know where we're going. I forgot to decrease that interest rate. So let's decrease that interest rate to 4.5. Let's put it back at 260, and let's check out that payment again. So you can see how that payment is less than the payments of the two other products. So they'll be able to get that amount of $35,000 in cash. So let's go ahead. Any questions on this screen? So what I had done, remember, is I used my copy. I marked it yes for refi. I increased that loan amount, and you change your rate. Advance the screen, and that's what triggers your product to now display on your presentation. So let's go ahead and put in our 15 days prepaid interest. Let's go up to our closing cost details. Let's pull down our fee template. In this particular case, I want to use my refinance one right there. And you can see how it would be slightly different than my other fee template I used. And you would just make any kind of adjustments necessary. So what I want to do now is add a label for cash out. So again, just to be able to have that line item. So you can see currently in our cash out on the right hand side of the screen, you can see how it's taken into account for the cash out. So let's actually change it from the face of the report, and we'll put it in as a line item under our fees. So we're going to place it in our fee area. So you can see how we haven't gone into the closing cost details, we haven't saved it yet, and we don't have any fees listed yet. So let's go ahead and make that adjustment. We brought down our fee template. Make any adjustments to your fees. Now let's add that custom fee. So I'm going to label this one as cash out. Remember, mark it as a prepaid because you don't want this as a cost to the loan. Press OK. Now that description will always be in your drop downs. And now what's different here is we're going to need to go ahead and place this as a negative. So let's go ahead and put this as a negative 35,000. Actually, positive. And apply it to the loan. Once you advance the screen, it will go ahead and update the presentation, and let's take a look and watch how it just made the change. You see how the cash to close has been adjusted now, and let's go check out that more info button. You'll see now our fees have been developed in this screen as well as our fee details. So let's click on that fee details, and there's our cash out to the borrower. We have it marked as a prepaid escrow. Be able to do that as well. You'll also notice we have a column for finance. You can finance your fees on a refinance into the loan amount, and we go back and make a couple adjustments. I'll show you how you could do that as well. Let's clear all those highlights out. So now what I want to do is discuss the property value. We left it at $300,000, but we are taking $35,000 out. We're going to do some upgrades in the home. So with that, what you would want to do is maybe that property value will no longer be $300,000. And what we could do is we're going to go ahead and increase it, just that $30,000. And you could do it $35,000 if you want. And before we advance the screen to update the presentation, I want you to take a look at that net worth. So the net worth is based on that $300,000 property value, but now we've made some upgrades with that $35,000 we cashed out. So with that, it will now then change the net worth for an appreciation that will be comparable to that $335,000 property value. So now let's take a look at one other item in the net worth area. So with that, we have, go back to the analysis screen, and you can be able to see how the net worth is lined out in this area. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation. And now what I want you to be able to show you is a couple different options on how you can deliver this to your borrower. So you can see how that we provided the information. And right now I have the presentation on both screens. What I'm going to do is click on the share button, which is located on the lower right hand corner, and that share button allows you to be able to get that link rather quickly. So remember in Edge, if you're in Edge, you could click on generate link. When you click on generate link, you could get that link quite easily in this area here. Another place is on that presentation. That share button also allows you to grab that link. On the mobile device, you'll be able to share the link easily by just pressing the share button. We'll view that in a moment, and be able to forward that presentation to another person. So what I'm going to do is open a new tab on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see how I paste that link into that tab and pressed return. So this is just as if the borrower went ahead and clicked on that loan option, or clicked on that link, and the presentation displays. They go ahead and click I understand to view the report. So now with this, what we're going to do is discussing the report with the borrower. So what you could do really quick, you can see at the very bottom, center of the presentation, you can see on the left hand side I have a clear all button, but on the borrower's copy on the right there's no clear all. And with that, what the clear all button does is you can see how I made the highlights on the left hand screen. It also highlighted on the borrower's copy on the right, but that clear all button will clear out all the highlights at once. So that's what clear all means, clear all highlights. So now let's go ahead and be able to show how it works with Edge Live. So you can see how I can highlight on the current mortgage, discuss those items, and you see how I am driving the borrower's presentation. The same with the move up, if I highlighted the move up as well as the cash out. So what you do on your presentation will reflect for the borrower. So again, now let's, if you're holding that conversation on the monthly payments, you could show them the difference in that pity payment, how they're all roughly within a few dollar amounts. So but you could dive into them and really show those details. And you can see how I'm highlighting on that left-hand side how it drove the presentation on the right. So not only can you drive the presentation, hold those conversations, but you can make changes at the same time. So what I'm going to do is go back to my Edge account, and the first thing I want to be able to do is remove that cash out product. So I hovered my mouse over presentation and went directly to select report. With that, I removed my cash out presentation, and possibly what I want to do is when I first send this product or this presentation to the borrower, they're only talking about possibly moving up. What is the difference in purchasing a house that's more expensive and selling? So this is the presentation that you go ahead and present them. But as you're on the phone talking to them, you talked about the current mortgage, the fact that they can move up to a $330,000 house with only roughly a $4 increase. So with that, now you want to be able to show them, you know, if you want, you'd be able to cash out and put the money directly into your home. So this is how you'd be able to have presentations already set up in your file. All you have to do is mark the cash out, and then you could see as you're talking to the borrower, that product will then display for them. And you can then discuss, have you ever thought about cashing out and applying those money to fixing up your home or improving the value that way? So that's how you'd be able to go ahead and be able to, come on, let's go ahead and move here. Did I move my screen? Yeah, I did. And you can see how that would be able to make the adjustments on the borrower's copy. So with that, there we go. So you can see how that cash out is there. Okay, Brian, you're asking, oh, whoa, let's check it out. Yeah, you're right. That payment did jump quite a bit. So let's check out why. So let's go back to Edge. Let's see what I did in my products. So again, as you start learning to move around in your Edge account, I'm hovering my mouse over product and I'm going into my cash out scenario. And let's see what I had done. It looks like my base loan amount increased, and that's why. So let's go ahead, and I think this was down at 2. Start again. I'm making it, taking it back to the original dollar amounts, and let's see what I have done. So what I had done is to get it back to the original numbers, I went ahead and marked yes and keep it on that, and it went ahead and modify it. What I want to do is go ahead and let's increase this amount to 260. And what I have done, I think it was the property value. There we go. We can actually probably make this 265 if you wanted to bring it up a little bit. Because what had happened is my base loan amount adjusted. So let's see what happened here is you see how my screen just bounced on the right hand side. So let's go ahead and put in 330,000. You see how my base loan amount changed. So what you'll have to do is then come back here and then reduce that back down. So that's the piece that I was missing, Brian. Oh, it's great that you're following along. That's good. So you did the same that. So just remember, when you want to increase that property value to be able to show the increase in value by applying that cash in home improvements, remember to go back to your base loan amount and put in that dollar amount of the loan amount. I also want to talk a little bit more about that property value. So now if you go into the analysis screen, you'll see the very first field is the property appreciation rate. So you can see how I have 3% in there. So with that, let's go ahead and I want to show 2 items. So on the presentation, let's go ahead and drive it on my report. If I click on the More Info button in that monthly payment savings, you can see at the very base, this is where we go ahead and display that property appreciation percentage. So if you left it as a 0, you would see the 0 here as well. I close that out, and now in the long-term area, you'll see that if I click on that more info, there's the line for the home value. So you can see how it will take that 3% and increase the value each year. So you'll be able to see that information right there. Okay, let me check for any questions. Okay. So with that, that's a quick way of doing, be able to show the borrower about either moving up in an increased sales price, property house, or cash out and apply those monies and make home improvements on the home they're in. So, and the best way to go ahead, you would want to be able to place a video on here, so you'd want to go ahead and do that. And again, you might just not want to keep that cash out initially, or if you do show both options, just mention that in the video. Hey, I thought, you know, you only, when we spoke, you talked about purchasing a new home. Also want to be able to show you the options of cashing out and keeping that same monthly payment around that same amount. So you can highlight it. Okay. So now let's go back to Edge. And let me go ahead and let's go to the home screen. If there's any other questions on this move out scenario, go ahead and place it in the question area. We can always come back to it. I'm now going to go ahead and go back to a single screen. There we go. And it'll bring my questions back up. And that's another thing when you record a video, make sure your phone is on mute so you don't have that in the background. Okay. So now with the home, what I want to be able to do is show you a couple things. So Brian, you were talking about compliance notes, payment notes. If you go in your report settings, you know what, payment sidebar, these are for, let me show you on the report, these sidebar notes. If you look on the upper, on each of those sections, the more info button, there's text in this area. You'd be able to modify that as a default in this area here if you want to be able to place information. What I find is some companies like placing their goals of the company and how they'll be able to help the borrower. So there's different items you could place here. Same with the disclosure text. If your language is grayed out and you can't make any modifications, that means you're on an enterprise account and your company has locked this down and placed the information that they want to see on their disclosure. There's also a extended disclosure, so if you need more information, you'd be able to place that in this area. We have it for each of our products, even that default of short term of 5 years or 15 for the long term, you could change those if you needed to. That was for the total cost analysis. The rent versus own has those same. The rent versus own, Brian, has that payment note. So I'll make sure that this default also gets into the total cost as well as all the others. So you can default it on the rent versus own report. Then on the seller buy down, you have that information as well as your open house. So open house too, if you always want it defaulted asking price, you could default it in this area. And if you have a specific presentation title and want to do that, you could default those as well. So Brian, I'll go ahead and make sure I write up a ticket to be able to get that payment notes and make sure it's in all the different presentations for you to be able to make the modify, and that way you won't have to type it each time. If there are any other questions in the template area, I want to also make sure everyone goes into the contact information. Make sure all your information is complete. Make sure in your license number field that you do have the MLS or whatever identifier in front of the number, so that way you'll be able to the borrower would be able to see that identification on their presentation. Addresses, make sure your business address is updated, and then press save once you're completed here. If you want to go to the image tab, in the support, when people send us links to review, a lot of times I don't see the image. So this is where you go ahead and upload your image and be able to place it on your presentations. Same with the logo. You'll be able to place that here, and if you see it that it is grayed out, like in my instance, it's because, again, you're on an enterprise account and your company is controlling those two fields. And the other item I want to go ahead and show you real quick as you start building templates within Mortgage Coach, you can easily use a copy feature through the View All button. And you see I have my Move Up Buyers presentation. If you ever want to make some kind of template out of any presentation you created, just go into View All, do a search. You can identify by clicking the arrows. You can see all the different files that are created under that particular name. You can also see how I use that friendly name field. Here's my working file. Here's a Training Thursday back in July. This is how you use those different type of friendly name fields and placing your information in there. So there's so many different items that you'd be able to create standard templates with. And you can see how I have a generic one right here for monthly MI and versus lender premium. And to do a template, you can always just copy from any particular file you've already created, and then just go ahead and make the adjustments. So let me go ahead and just take one that I've already created, and let me type the word FHA. Okay, I'm going to use this basic one here. It's an FHA conventional. Possibly I do these products all the time. I want a base template. So what I'm going to do is use that copy analysis, and I'm going to copy it into a new client. What I'm going to do is make this my template, and I'm just going to strip out data that I know I would need to key in. So I'm starting with a new client. And I'm going to go ahead and place 2 asterisks in front of it, and the reason for that is because we alphabetize all our files. So the asterisk will keep it up at the top of the file, or if you place it number 1, a numeric, it will also put it up at the top. So on this one, I'm just going to go ahead so I know what this product is. I'm putting FHA versus conventional. I'm placing down here my friendly name field. I'm just saying template. I don't need my referral. So advancing my screen, property value, I want to delete that. I want to key it in. If you want to keep it as something to easily view, you could go ahead and do so. But I'm just stripping down information. I had this one pretty much complete, but I want to make it just generic so I don't have to roll over any information. So I'm just keeping that as empty. I have my title. I want to remove my sales price, and then you just be able to keep the information in here. So as you do that, you can either keep it as the numbers and just override it, or wipe it out and keep them clear and be able to do that. So what this will do is, and again, you can keep your fees in there. If you know it for an FHA for quote, again, it's a real quick way of providing that information, as well as your upfront MIP. So you can default a lot of information. Then if I go to home, let's go ahead and take a look at it. You'll see that I have my double asterisk, and if I go into my view all, you can always narrow down your search by adding information in this area. But you can see that when I review all my files, and you can always search all your master templates by those double asterisks, it will then be in the display, and you can use that base file to create any future files that are just using that FHA conventional product. So you can see it's taking a little bit of time, but there we go, and here's the template I just created, and you can see how the double asterisk, it just keeps it up at the top here. And remember, you always have that filter to keep applying, and then applying your search and narrows down the files listed. So with that, what I'm going to do, this goes ahead and closes our Training Thursday. If you have any specific questions on anything within Edge, I'll go ahead and stay around for a little bit, answer any of those questions. They don't have to be on the Move Up Buyer presentation. So just go ahead and let us know what you need. So last thing, just remember our Mortgage Coach University training, that there's so many different things, widgets, different items, how to compare different ARM products. So I encourage you to get on those trainings and just dive in deeper into Mortgage Coach Edge and really see what type of presentations and what you can do to present to your borrowers as well as your realtor partners. Thank you, everyone. I'll hold out for a little bit and answer any kind of questions that come through the box. Thank you. Okay, Brian. Brian's questioning the Start Now button. And if I go back to Mortgage Coach Edge and we go into our settings, contact information. So first, let's describe what that button does. So if I go ahead and click on Start Now, it opens into a new page and it goes to our landing page in Mortgage Coach for referral. So what you would want to do is place your web page or possibly your company's application page, something of that sort, in that link. So what I do, you can see how you had that demo link here. Let's go back to Edge. You see that Start Now address in the contact info screen. You place this information, whatever link you want that Start Now button to drive to, and then press save. Save. Then all your presentations will then have that Start Now process, and it will go to that landing page. So I hope that addressed your question, Brian. Just go ahead and want to use it, just go ahead and place it in the contact info screen. Always remember to press save. Great question. And if there are any other questions, go ahead and put in the box. I'll go ahead and reply to those. Okay, I don't see any other questions coming through our support, the question area and GoToMeeting. So I will go ahead and wrap up today's call. Make sure, go ahead and follow up with next Thursday's training. If there's a specific scenario that you want to show, let us know. We could build it on our training Thursday or any type of questions that you have. So let us know and we can address those here next week. Thank you, everyone, and have a great week. We'll talk to you next Thursday.